Welcome to our 5 on 5. Pleased to be joined today by Denis Strayer, a retired U.S. Forest Service fire information officer, as well as the current curator and historian at the Kerbyville Museum. Denis, thanks for being here today.
Pleasure to meet you.
Knock your hat over. Forgive me. All right, so you have a background as a firefighter. So tell us a little bit about that background.
Okay, well, I joined the Forest Service up in Portland in 1980 in the regional office. In 1981, they asked people if they'd like to volunteer to be on a mixed fire crew for the Mount Hood Forest, which was just to the east of Portland. So I went through the mandatory 40-hour training, and then that August we were called out to a large fire over in central Idaho, and just found it really very exciting in a way, a little bit like I spent a year in Vietnam with the Navy Seabees, so kind of, you know, helicopters flying around, you know, moving people around, the smoke. In fact, we were the very first 3 fire teams on that fire, and just literally we were stepping off the bus, they'd hand us our hand tools and we'd start marching toward the smoke. And
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So yeah, you've got decades in forest fighting and firefighting in the forests and all these different things. So how does this season compare, do you think, to past seasons? And I know you're a resident of Cave Junction, so you were there during Biscuit. What do you think of this?
Well, as far as my experience goes back, this is, to me, probably one of the worst fire seasons in my lifetime, really. In fact, when I got out of the Navy in 1970, my folks were living in Portland. That whole summer, eastern Washington was burning up, and it was, you know, all the smoke was coming down the gorge towards Portland. Now they've got the big fire up there in the Cascade area, and just, yeah, so this season in my lifetime is probably the worst.
And what about the smoke? Is it definitely the worst, or it's right up there?
Well, yeah, the smoke, the inversion layers have, you know, been exceedingly long. Like, for example, almost 4 weeks in Cave Junction with no sight of blue sky or fresh air or anything. It was very, very depressing, really.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Much more with Denis in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Denis Strayer, a retired U.S. Forest Service fire information officer, and also currently with the Kerbyville Museum. So, Denis, do you think fires are handled differently now than they were in the past? Yeah,
today there seems to be use of bigger equipment, like we were just talking about the air tankers, whereas in my starting back in the early 80s, it was mostly all hand crews. Maybe a few helicopters with water bucket drops, that sort of thing, but the times have changed, and I think part of it's because there's a larger population living in the forest interface, so there's a bigger threat of property loss and human loss, so I think that's probably the reason why they're going for the bigger impact on the larger equipment.
And yeah, we during the break, you just referenced it. We were talking about like a 747, you know, jet, you know, to go over these massive fires like KOBI.
Right.
Now, this is a U.S. Forest Service fire, and they don't have one. This is not an ODF fire. They don't have one. It's CAL FIRE that has one, and that's obviously a whole interagency thing. But do you think something like that is more helpful on a fire like KOBI?
Yeah, because having hiked into that area years ago, knowing how the Biscuit fire burned around, it's very steep terrain, so it's probably a whole lot safer for fire crews not to, you know, put themselves in harm's way. We've lost a number of fire people over the years to tragic fire incidents in Colorado and elsewhere. And so again, yeah, I think with the use of the larger air tankers like the 747s and the DC-10s is probably a good thing, and just more effective and efficient.
And we now, of course, know that KOBI is going into the old Biscuit, you know, fire area. How do these fires differ, do you think?
Well, with the Biscuit, it actually was 2 separate fires that grew together. On the south end, it was Biscuit Hill. That's originally on the north end. It was Florence Creek. They always traditionally name fires from the point of origin, but what was going on, Florence, Oregon, the mayor called the Forest Service, said, hey, can we rename this fire because people are calling and canceling their hotel reservations. Really a big impact on their local community. And so the Forest Service said, sure, no problem. So then they renamed it the Biscuit Fire. But the real challenge is the majority of the biscuit fire was within the 180,000 acre Kalmiopsis wilderness, where there has not been a significant fire in many, many years. So you've got this incredible brush built up, and it's just a fire waiting to happen.
Yeah, certainly. All right, well, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.